This story is not about proving guilt. It is about patterns, strange details, and unanswered questions. It is about why certain names keep appearing in the same conversations decades later. It is about why official explanations sometimes leave more doubts than answers. And it is about why fans still feel uneasy when they hear the phrase accidental death. Let us begin in the golden age of Hollywood, a time often remembered as elegant and innocent. But even then, studios controlled lives with iron contracts. One actor whose story still raises eyebrows is George Reeves. Known to millions as Superman, Reeves struggled behind the scenes with powerful studio figures and personal conflicts. When he was found dead from a gunshot wound, the official ruling was suicide. Yet witnesses gave conflicting statements. Evidence appeared mishandled. Friends claimed he was planning a future, not an ending. Over the years, many have asked why so many details did not line up. Was it despair, or did Reeves know something that made him a problem for powerful people? Another name that refuses to fade is Marilyn Monroe. Officially, her death was ruled a probable suicide due to overdose. But Monroe was not just a movie star. She was connected to politicians, studio executives, and some of the most powerful men of her era. In the weeks before her death, she reportedly spoke about revealing secrets. Her phone records disappeared. Her house was cleared unusually fast. Even today, historians argue over whether her death was truly self-inflicted or whether it silenced a voice that had become too dangerous. Moving forward in time, we come to James Dean, the symbol of rebellion and youth. His death in a car crash was ruled an accident, plain and simple. Yet some believe Dean had begun to speak openly about the darker sides of fame and studio manipulation. Others point to the strange series of misfortunes connected to parts of his car afterward. While there is no solid proof of foul play, the legend grew because people felt something did not sit right. Sometimes mystery survives because it feeds on uncertainty. Then there is Natalie Wood. Her death by drowning during a boating trip remains one of Hollywood's most debated tragedies. Official explanations changed over time. Witnesses remained silent for years before speaking. Relationships on that boat were complicated, emotional, and tense. Natalie Wood was said to be deeply afraid of water, making the circumstances even harder to accept at face value. Some believe her death was an accident. Others believe it was something far darker that involved fear, anger, and silence protected by fame. Bruce Lee's death shocked the world. Young, powerful, disciplined, and at the peak of his career, Lee died after suffering cerebral edema. The explanation involved a reaction to medication. But Bruce Lee was also breaking barriers, challenging industry norms, and changing how Asian actors were portrayed. Some believe he was becoming too influential, too independent, and too difficult to control. While many dismiss conspiracy theories, others still question why such a healthy man died so suddenly. His son Brandon Lee would later die during the filming of The Crow after a prop gun accident. Official investigations concluded it was a tragic chain of errors. Yet the coincidence of father and son both dying young under unusual circumstances has fueled endless debate. For some, it represents the randomness of fate. For others, it feels like a pattern that is too cruel and too strange to ignore. River Phoenix was another talent gone too soon. Intelligent, outspoken, and deeply critical of Hollywood culture, Phoenix often spoke against exploitation and abuse in the industry. He collapsed outside a nightclub and died of a drug overdose. Some close to him claimed he was overwhelmed and trapped by a system he despised. Others suggest that his knowledge and refusal to stay quiet made him vulnerable. His death remains a symbol of lost potential and unresolved questions. Paul Walker's death was ruled a car accident caused by excessive speed. Yet almost immediately, fans noticed inconsistencies. Surveillance footage gaps, vehicle behavior questions, and Walker's reported plans to take on humanitarian work rather than focus on Hollywood. There is no evidence of sabotage, But suspicion grew because Walker was known to be involved in charity efforts that crossed paths with powerful interests. Sometimes suspicion is born simply because the loss feels too sudden and too final. Heath Ledger's death was ruled an accidental overdose. Ledger was deeply immersed in intense roles and reportedly disturbed by some of the stories he had encountered within the industry. Friends described him as sensitive and observant. While many believe his death was a tragic result of pressure and exhaustion, others believe he had begun to see Hollywood clearly, and that clarity came at a cost. Then there is Brittany Murphy. Her sudden death at a young age shocked fans worldwide. Official reports cited pneumonia and drug interactions. Yet her husband would die under similar circumstances months later. The house they lived in was later rumored to have mold issues, but questions remain about why these details were not addressed earlier. Brittany had reportedly spoken about feeling watched and unsafe. Whether paranoia or instinct, her words now echo in unsettling ways. Tupac Shakur, while primarily known as a musician, also had a rising acting career. His death in a drive-by shooting remains unsolved. Tupac was outspoken, politically aware, and unafraid to challenge authority. Many believe his knowledge of industry manipulation and street politics put him in dangerous territory. His murder is often discussed as a product of power, money, and silence. Sharon Tate's death was officially tied to the Manson family murders. Yet some believe the full story of that night, and the forces behind Charles Manson were never completely exposed. Tate was pregnant, connected, and part of a Hollywood elite circle. The horror of her death overshadowed deeper questions about manipulation and control during that era. Chris Penn, brother of Sean Penn, died of heart issues reportedly linked to substance use. Chris had spoken privately about Hollywood pressures and the damage it inflicted on him. While his death is rarely framed as suspicious, some believe it fits a broader pattern of actors crushed under the weight of an unforgiving system. Anton Yelchin died after being pinned by his own car due to a known mechanical issue. The explanation was straightforward, yet fans could not ignore the irony of a young, thoughtful actor dying alone in such a strange way. Yelchin was known for his intelligence and critical thinking, qualities that often clash with blind obedience. Aaliyah, another artist crossing into acting, died in a plane crash officially blamed on pilot error and overload. She was young, successful, and reportedly trying to leave certain management structures. Many believe her death represented the danger of speaking up too early in an industry built on silence. Then there is Jean Harlow, one of Hollywood's earliest icons. Her death was attributed to kidney failure, but modern experts suggest misdiagnosis and neglect. Studios allegedly pushed her to keep working despite severe illness. Did greed and power contribute to her death? The question lingers. Finally, consider Montgomery Clift. His life was marked by trauma, addiction, and industry pressure. After a severe car accident, his personality changed. Some believe Hollywood abandoned him when he no longer fit the image. His death was ruled heart failure, but many view his life as an example of how the system can destroy those who do not conform. What connects all these stories is not proof of murder. It is the presence of power, control, silence, and unanswered questions. Hollywood is not a single villain. It is a machine made of money, influence, and fear. Sometimes people break under it. Sometimes they try to expose it. And sometimes, according to those who study these cases, the truth is buried under official statements and forgotten files. It is important to say this clearly. Tragedy does not always mean conspiracy. Accidents do happen. Illness is real. Addiction destroys lives. But when patterns repeat, when stories echo each other, and when powerful interests benefit from silence, people begin to ask questions. And questions are not crimes. Story Sprout exists to explore those questions, not to replace facts with fantasy, but to examine why certain narratives never feel complete, why families feel unheard, why fans still search decades later, and why the phrase accidental death sometimes feels like a door closed too quickly. Hollywood continues to shine, but shadows remain. New stars rise. New contracts are signed, and new secrets are made. Perhaps the greatest power is not in taking someone out, but in controlling the story afterward, in deciding what is remembered and what is dismissed. As you leave this story, ask yourself not what is proven, but what is possible. Ask why so many voices were silenced by circumstance. Ask why some truths take so long to surface. And most of all,